players came to this tournament as practice partners, which means their lineups are very similar. A few of their decks are only like one card different. One of them is exactly the same, which I believe is the Mage deck. And the one that differs the most is the Rogue. Trying to get the Rogue deck, it's been banned, and we're going to start things off with not a mirror match. It's BunnyHoppor on the Hunter and Viper on the Mage.
Mage has just been such a strong performer, too. You know, we saw it just barely fall in the last set versus Hunter. Ace Bloodyface put up a heck of a fight. But my goodness, Walking Fountain gets some work done when it comes to that clutch time. That card is so good, but I digress. Viper, I spoke with Viper and BunnyHoppor on day one when I first got here. And I was talking to them specifically about the Mage deck because when I was practicing with it before the players had submit, the players that I was working with, we could not find a viable version of this deck. It was just getting steamrolled by aggressive decks. And Rabble Bouncer, I think, is really one of the key cards that ended up changing this. Both of them have included in their builds, of course. I asked them about Conjurer's Calling, because this deck is particularly difficult to mulligan with, I believe. And Viper said to me, I never consider mulliganing Conjurer's Calling. And that's any idea of how important and how powerful that card is.
Yeah, and, you know, having an opening hand here with Khadgar. And nothing really to combo with it yet. Now, there's a lot of big, powerful turns he can do if he sticks a minion going into turn 5 or any time later than that. But until then, he's going to be under some pressure. And I will say, the deck that Mage has seemed to struggle the most against thus far this tournament has been Hunter. They have a lot of power early game, and the biggest part of that power is the ability to stick a Scavenging Hyena and just push early damage. And the problem with Mage is that outside of Ziliax, it has no way to heal. So pushing that early damage and also having some ways to deal with Mountain Giant early because of how many early minions you have has been kind of the difference maker in Hunter versus Mage.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen how big of work that Timberwolf can do in this matchup. You know, it's sort
Absolutely.
of like death by 1,000 cuts to a certain point where you overload the Mage ability to use hero power since they're needing all their mana to make critical plays. And you get to a point where it's like, if you don't hero power the Timberwolf, you're going to take a ton of damage. And if you hero power the Timberwolf, you're about to make a bad play.
Yes. And Viper very heavily thinking about playing the Sun Fury Protector in that situation.
Yeah, he's, you know, considering playing it to try to buy some tempo. And the real heavy hit to Viper playing that that Sun Fury Protector would be, A, he gives away the ability to taunt perhaps in a crucial situation, but more importantly to that is it gives BunnyHoppor the opportunity to use a Headhunter's Hatchet, buff it up to 3 charges, take that out, and then suddenly have a little bit of development back behind, you know, the trade-off of the Shimmerfly regardless. Kind of looking at the secret plan from the Shimmerfly, a very roundabout way of getting a secret. You pay a mana, you take 2 mana from your opponent, you pay another mana, and then finally you have access to your 2-mana secret.
Well, secret plan, Ken, there are some very good secrets in this matchup. The biggest one, I think, and the one we've seen the most impact, has been Misdirection. Yeah, Misdirection can allow you to deal with an early Conjurer's Calling.
That is the absolute fastest that I have ever seen Viper take a turn. The Voodoo Doll came down and he passed, I'm pretty sure, before BunnyHoppor had actually hit his own end turn button. It was like turning over on the client, and it just flipped over and sat in that position again.
Yeah, we, Admiral and I were kind of getting ready backstage, and we were saying, well, get ready for a very long series, because even though these guys are playing some fast decks, they're 2 of the players that take their most time on the turns, specifically BunnyHoppor.
Pretty interesting options here from Bunny as well. I think this Snake Trap is quite appealing, although, you know, the Fear of Mind Control tech, maybe it's worth considering.
And Rabble Bouncer. I think
Rabble Bouncer as well,
could end up being more of a liability, unless he had Timberwolf in hand to try and trade these. Maybe a potential to get that off Master's Call. But
yeah, I'm thinking a lot about the Scavenging Hyena is where my head's at.
Okay.
Because Viper, I think sometimes is going to be really interested in just attacking the Voodoo Doll in, not necessarily hero powering it. However, BunnyHoppor may have fallen into a little bit of a strange situation here where he's now allowed the Conjurer's Calling to go off amidst this.
Oh, wow. Felguard.
Wow, that is way above the average 3-drop curve, and you can see that BunnyHoppor is frustrated from that. And it's been a long time since I think I've seen BunnyHoppor actively frustrated from a situation. I think quite a while ago now. It was about 2 years ago. I felt like when he competed, he really showed a lot of emotion, and since he's started to contain that, this huge wave of success this year has come behind that.
Yeah, and you know what? I agree with the face attack for a couple reasons. One, if there's no Conjurer's Calling, what it does is kind of feign Freezing Trap.
Yeah.
Because that'd be a great Freezing Trap target because the Leok lives. And two, if he's feigning Freezing Trap and Viper decides to check with the attack, he gets Snakes, which then rolls into potential Scavenging Hyena or even Master's Call into Timberwolf to try and push extra damage.
Yeah.
And the only thing that punished him in that spot was exactly Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, and so I imagine Viper is probably on the fence about attacking the Spring Crawl, because on the one hand it can be the Venom Strike, the Cobra Trap. Is that even in the format anymore, the Cobra Trap?
No.
That's not the format anymore, excuse me. Never mind, he's quite interested in attacking the Spring Paw, mostly because of Dragon Scorcher. TJ's pulling out his phone. He actually doesn't know. He's going to Google it real quick. I actually don't know if Venom Strike Trap is in the format anymore.
No, it's gone.
Okay.
Knights of the Frozen Throne. I was thinking Venom Strike Trap is... never mind. It's not in the format. No use.
So,
but my brain was confused.
Since he's attacked face, there's really only a couple things it could be at this point. It can be Snipe. It can be Rat Trap. That was the one I was trying to think of. Not really much else. However, just leaving it on board, what real threat is that?
You can always ping it off. And I was thinking, obviously, Khadgar Conjurer's Calling was a play there, but...
aggression. Raw aggression.
Lifeweaver and Madame Lazul.
It's just stuff on board is really the important thing here. BunnyHoppor is I'm probably going to get pressure out of this game from this spot.
So I was saying Khadgar plus Conjurer's Calling would have been playable that turn. The problem is Viper would have gone incredibly wide on board.
Unleash the Hounds.
And Unleash the Hounds plus Scavenging Hyena is a very real possibility.
There's a Voodoo Doll in hand for Viper,
Yeah,
though.
that's what I was thinking. Voodoo Doll, though, makes that interesting. And Khadgar is going to sit in his hand for a long time.
I think it's a lot about just perhaps a counterattack or losing too much of your board at that point.
Yeah. But Khadgar, while it is a valuable resource and one that you would feel a little bit bad about throwing away into an Unleash the Hound Scavenging Hyena turn, you have the answer to the Hyena, as we talked about. And also, Khadgar is not providing much additional value to his hand in its current state. He has Astromancer, but in order to make that combo, you have to wait until turn 9. He's used the full Conjurer's Calling, both uses of the Twin Spell. I am...
Yeah, it's a tough turn.
I was kind of inclined to just do it. Play your stuff. Make the biggest board possible.
BunnyHoppor does not look comfortable.
Ooh.
And rightfully so.
Archmage Arugel into Book of Specters.
So there's the first attack, and that is beautiful.
Oh
for Viper.
My goodness.
Yeah. This is probably game over. It's not so much game over because, BunnyHoppor's under threat of lethal or, that Viper is, just so crushingly far ahead in this game. It's just a tempo battle. Hunter is a deck that wants to really go even on that tempo and just keep it going piece for piece. When you go piece for piece with Hunter, that's, I think, one of the situations they really shine in. As soon as you get ahead and you're leveraging with just high health minions, that's, I feel like, where Hunter struggles so much.
And at this point, BunnyHoppor kind of has to rely on Zul'jin. Honestly, it's at that point of the game already where he has to say, I need to clear the board as much as possible and wait for Zul'jin.
So now Viper's got an opportunity to do just about anything he wants to do. You could take your pick at this point.
The Archmage Arugel plus Book of Specters, if he draws all minions, will fill up his hand.
Darn.
I curse them all.
1.
Wow.
2.
And honestly, this is fantastic for Viper because it's just a ton of utility cards. Utility is something you are often quite low on with this deck. You know, it's about power plays turn after turn. And just having access to this much.
He even gets to find a little bit of hand space, not that it matters, and clear off this 5-3 without having to use this Dragon Maw Scorcher to keep it healthy.
Yeah.
And importantly, maybe not so importantly because the Archmage Arugul, but let it survive to the second use of the Unleash the Beast.
Yeah, and I do want to point out the hold of Khadgar at this point. You know, Astromancer is a fantastic combination with Khadgar because it demands attention of the minions in play, but it also demands attention of the Khadgar threatening to return that. And so that little 2 mana or whatever it's going to occupy to make sure that you can take care of it, it gets in a little bit of chip damage, also occupies resources. You know, that kind of card provides a very powerful disruption effect, and that's a large factor of how this mage deck interacts, is it's the threat of the power that is largely the power it holds.
Yeah. BunnyHoppor gonna take care of these 2 minions. Importantly, the Archmage Arugul. Actually, not so importantly because his hand is full, so he's not gonna get back out of it anyway. But
yeah,
he's trying to chip away at the board.
You got to stave off the damage somehow.
Yep.
And the longer these 2/2s keep building up, the more damage they're going to deal. If BunnyHoppor's going to win this game, it's going to be skating on a very low amount of health.
Skating on a very low amount of health and also completely relying on drawing Zul'jin by turn 10. Now, one thing we have to note is that BunnyHoppor does have a copy of Vicious Scalehide in the deck, which means that if some kind of miracle happens and he staves off this pressure until turn 10 and he draws Zul'jin, he can play Vicious Scalehide, he can Dire Frenzy it, and hope he draws a bunch of copies to keep himself alive and eventually whittle down Viper's life total. That's the only win condition I see right now for BunnyHoppor.
And I agree with you, and notably because there's 1 copy of Tundra Rhino in the deck and it's about to bite the dust.
Yes.
So the idea that you're going to blast your opponent out of nowhere, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
And if your opponent's going to spend this much effort killing 2/2s, make it more annoying. How does Arcane Keysmith work? Can it discover a secret that you already have in play?
No.
Why not? It just wouldn't apply, right? It blows up like when Zul'jin tries to play him.
Oh, maybe.
Huh. I just always see the secret get popped right away. It's very rare you see 4 of them in a player's hand.
Yeah.
Unleash the Beasts might need to be loaded up on here, but I can tell you that tracking was to check for Counterspell. I wonder if BunnyHoppor's ever considering the Shimmerfly and just being like, you know what? I need something crazy to happen.
I can't even think of what could happen. I mean, the biggest swing possible would be Shimmerfly into a Cybertech chip.
I was thinking in a Honey Bun. That song, the Shimmerfly Honey Bun song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a classic.
Great song.
Yeah,
love it. And then you unleash and Cybertech chip and trade in and get a bunch of mechs.
Oh, a bunch of Zilliaxes. There you go.
A bunch of Zilliaxes or Oblivitron into a bunch of
Zilliaxes.
yeah, Zilliaxes.
That's really what BunnyHoppor needs to win this game about. Just a bunch of Zilliaxes.
All right, well, this is effectively the game-winning push. 4 7-drops. Oh no, just two additional 7-drops.
So there's a Deadly Shot. There's an Unleash the Beast. There's an attack on a minion. You could, in theory, stave off the pressure for a turn, and if BunnyHoppor draws exactly Zul'jin, there's going to be 3 copies of Unleash the Beasts in there
a deadly
with
shot,
a copy of Deadly Shot.
A Master's Call.
Yeah, this could still happen. This could very well still happen. Now, it's still going to take a miracle, but by golly, when luck shuts the door, you got to open up the window. Okay, well,
ooh.
You know, sometimes you open up the window and there's an avalanche coming, but
and then the metaphor ends.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Burn.
Well, that's just lethal.
Deal
with the ping.
Damage. Viper up 1-0.
And honestly, that loss for BunnyHoppor was a long time coming. As soon as Viper took a hold of the board, there was nothing that was going to bring BunnyHoppor back except the perfect string of draws. Identical. This is deja vu almost, but this stage is much bigger. Instead of trying to qualify for the finals of a seasonal championship, they're trying to qualify for the finals of the World Championship and the last HCT World Championship at that. So much more stakes.
Indeed it is. We got a Hunter mirror match coming up. You know, I feel like amongst the talks here at the World Championship, you know, and I've been discussing with not only you and the other casters, but also the players around, the Hunter, I feel like, is the most split when it comes to the player opinions on whether or not it's good or bad. Some people think, wow, this deck is just, I don't understand it. How does it beat anything? And then some people are like, oh, the Hunter's pretty good. I expected more to show up.
Well,
BunnyHoppor and Viper were two of the players who said they expected more of it to show up.
Yeah, and even in their interviews that we've seen in little media pieces over the course of the weekend, they were like, well, we expected everybody to bring Warrior, we expected everybody to bring Rogue, and we expected everybody to bring Hunter. And yeah, that was wrong. The Warrior Rogue part was correct. The Hunter part, not so correct. But who am I to say that? Because they're in the semifinals.
Yeah.
Hunter will be in the finals.
Who are you to say that?
I'm Team J.
I'm joined by
the Admiral. That's Admiral.
Yo. Leading things off with Spring Paw. Something that's really unique to me about Hunter right now is that it took such a tremendous hit in the expansion of the rotation. I mean, we went from having Dire Moles and a Crackling Razor Maws to having like a bunch of 1/1s.
And Flanking Strike.
You mean the unfair Hunter card? I hated that card. You know, I liked that card, but I hated it at the same time.
You're not
every deck I built.
You're not even mentioning Deathstalker Rexar.
Well, I mean, every class took a hit like that, you know? I mean, like Mage lost Jaina. Warrior lost Garrosh.
Dr. Boom. I mean, Scourgelord Garrosh.
No development for Viper. He's fearing Scavenging Hyena in this spot and then a trade-in and having no actual way to handle it on board.
Yeah.
So this starts to tell BunnyHoppor some stuff about the situation on Viper's side. If he's unwilling to let Scavenging Hyena be a threat, what cards does that mean he's missing? And by that same logic, what cards does that mean he has?
Yeah, and this matchup's kind of weird. You know, I like to think about this matchup like both players are on a seesaw. They're just trying to fight for board back and forth. One player goes up, the other player goes down. That player goes up, the other player goes down, until one player descends so quickly on the seesaw that he launches the player into space. And that's the big Scavenging Hyena turn. It's all about the swing turn. It's all about launching your opponent from the seesaw into space.
BunnyHoppor smells a little bit of blood here. And for Viper, the turn I imagine that Viper's looking for is Unleash Scavenging Hyena. But how do you get there without taking too much damage first? Because there is a particular point where if you move in on a Hyena, you are threatening to just lose the game yourself. If BunnyHoppor happens to have that lone copy of Deadly Shot when you go for a turn like that, all your investment just gets tempoed right back and you get chipped away. Like the trade-off in damage to try to buy that effect, you know, it inherently is something you have to go for. And that's the reason they've both included a copy of Deadly Shot in the list. Situations like that.
Yeah, I think the main reason for the inclusion and where I've seen Deadly Shot is for Mage.
Yeah, it's situations where your opponent has a giant thing and you can't handle it.
Exactly, and Mage is the one that capitalizes on having a giant thing that does big damage. But it does happen in a lot of scenarios nowadays, it feels like, where one big minion that sticks onto a board can end games because of the lack of good removal at the beginning of a rotation.
Just don't know what's needed yet.
Yeah.
You don't know necessarily, you don't have like a predictable path of your opponents.
No, and honestly, how are people supposed to predict coming into the World Championship what everybody else was going to bring? Yeah, they can hear rumblings. Yes, they can rely on their own testing, but they had 8 days from the set rotation and the new set release to submit for the World Championship. They submitted well over a week ago, last Wednesday. So that was 10 days ago they've submitted. More than 10 days ago, almost 12 days. And so the meta has even evolved since then. And how do you know what tech inclusions to choose? How do you know what removal to choose?
Well, I know the removal Viper needs to choose right now, and it's Kill command. This is getting scary. Viper has developed 0 onto board in fear of Scavenging Hyena, but I kind of look at this hand and wonder, did he have a way to handle it anyway? So Unleash the Hound's Timberwolf is a way to start fighting back.
But all it does is reset.
Yeah, I mean,
It gives BunnyHoppor a full turn of
uses
development.
coin as well. I mean, coin is, I think, very valuable when you're talking about Unleash the Beast and it being such a powerful card in this matchup.
Yeah.
BunnyHoppor has to start knowing that something's up here. Again, what does Viper's hand look like, and what does it feel like, and how are you going to get punished? I feel like this is a turn where you're able to Master's Call somewhat with impunity because you know that Viper's just not really going to have development in your board.
Yeah, going into turn 4 with the coin to use, there's not a significant amount of development, but there is a good amount. And by playing Master's Call, you essentially don't punish Viper, at least from a tempo standpoint, for having a turn where all he did was remove your board and not develop anything of his own.
Sure. Now, that being said, BunnyHoppor didn't really have an option here.
He didn't, no.
But pretend he did. He probably goes for Master Call this
Probably
turn.
goes for Master Call anyway, just because in this style of matchup, sometimes it can be hard to fit that 3 mana in.
Quickly.
The Witchwood Grizzly that you see in BunnyHoppor's hand is one of the major differences in their deck list as well. In its place, Viper has a second copy of Marked Shot in the deck. So that Grizzly, whoa, BunnyHoppor not going to develop. Interesting.
I mean, his only development there is Lynx. I think he was hoping to pick up a Shimmerfly. But also, I think the problem that he wants to avoid is he has a weak turn of development. He just plays a 1-1. Then Viper plays a Scavenging Hyena and trades into the 1-1. And then he doesn't have a great way to deal with the Hyena. If you look at his hand right now, in order to deal with the Hyena, he would have to Timberwolf, Lynx, Vicious Scalehide, and trade both in.
Yeah, I mean, what I just talked about, too, with Viper being in trouble, that's now swung right back. That's what TJ was talking about.
This is the seesaw. I've seen this matchup a lot, and I've played it a lot, and that's what it always feels like. You feel behind, you make a big turn, then you feel ahead. And that flips back and forth until one player just gets that one board that lets them be ahead for the rest of the game. And sometimes both players get Zul'jin, and that's the equivalent of the seesaw just exploding. But what are you going to do?
Is the first Zul'jin or the second Zul'jin more favored?
The second.
Because of the deadly shots?
Well, also the Unleash the Beast, because Unleash the Beast on a board doesn't necessarily give you anything. And also, Unleash the Hounds is a huge deal. If you're playing Zul'jin and your opponent doesn't have a board, you summon, what?
5/5s?
5/5s. They summon 5/5s and 1/1s with charge. Now, there's cases where it can go either way, right? Like if your opponent has a big board that's going to kill you and use Zul'jin, then sometimes you can counter kill with Unleash the Hounds and Leok. But most of the time, the second is the best, given an even board state and high life totals for both players.
Viper's in a bit of a pickle here.
That tech inclusion coming in hot. Like we said, the one difference in the lists. BunnyHoppor and Viper have been practice partners for a very long time.
All right, first Hyena committed. That's just funny to me because we talked about that in the last game.
Cybertech chip, I think is great.
Great?
I think it's great.
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 Not like sometimes in matchups where your resources are getting ground into dust, it can be useful.
Go on ladder right now and play some weird mech hunter where you just put in a bunch of random mechs and play Cybertech chip.
Okay, well, let me help you out as well. Don't do that.
Mark my words, in, I don't know, 1 month, Mech Hunter is going to be tier 1 and Cybertech chip is going to be core. mean, look at this value.
I mean, now it feels like BunnyHoppor's in a bit of a pickle.
Well, the issue for Viper is that, yeah, he's kind of got a stronger board, but BunnyHoppor's resources are so good. And yes, you can argue that Cybertech chip, which is a great card, will give Viper value. But it's value that doesn't necessarily synergize with the rest of his deck.
I'm not necessarily convinced. I think Unleash the Beasts here has a really high potential to get some work done. And BunnyHoppor here, the Unleash the Hounds. Okay, I think I missed that. The Unleash the Hounds actually is enough to wipe the board, so is the Lynx plus the Hatchet.
Unleash the Hounds is not enough to wipe the board.
Excuse me, there's a Timberwolf in play.
Yeah, but then he trades over. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. For some reason, I thought that BunnyHoppor's Unleash the Houndstein would buff the other Scavenging Hyena, which is absolutely not correct. All right, well, so Cybertech chip is great unless you get not good mechs.
Yep, the return Hyena is enough to deliver the punish, and I think that might be the seesaw moment.
Yep.
It's a pretty straightforward game plan, it seems so far. The one thing that Viper could have maybe done differently in this game is risk the Hyena. Because I guess one of the questions is BunnyHoppor just going to risk his own Hyena that same way? You know, in the same regard that your 1/1 is vulnerable to a Scavenging Hyena play, Bunny's Scavenging Hyena play is vulnerable to a kill command or a coin marked shot or what have you. I'm curious if he's willing to invest that without some sort of backup on board. You know, having the Grizzly here and having it at 4 health, that's a massive difference than it being, 3 health on turn 3 with a coin. I'm curious. I think it's the only thing Viper really could have done differently in this game, and I think his philosophy makes sense. I don't have an answer for it. I can't afford to risk that right now.
Quickly. Say the magic word.
Safeguard effectively just to buy time. But unfortunately,
that's all it's buying.
Yeah, no immediate impact on the board, which means BunnyHoppor, even though he might not push much damage this turn.
Well, now that's... I mean, I'm looking at Timberwolf, Tundra Rhino, and a Lynx here.
Timberwolf, Tundra Rhino, and Lynx means that...
Trade over the first half of Safeguard, you get to punch over the 0-5 and crash in for heaps.
Yeah.
That is a lot of damage. And with a second Master's Call in hand, the amount of work that Viper has to do to even up that board is really tough to me. But BunnyHoppor looks like he's just going to be taking it slow. He's figuring, why not? I mean, I'm already winning. How much more do I have to do to really win?
What would punish him for going with the play that you mentioned? Unleash plus something?
It's always Unleash plus something. This is probably just good enough.
Yeah, this still allows him to...
Oh, the Safeguard. So the investment of 11 damage I don't think is the important part. I think the important part is just the awkward board state. The Hyenas are going to get ticked up 1 more when the Grizzly dies.
So he missed a bunch of points of damage there to protect his Witchwood Grizzly.
Yeah, and
honestly, make him stronger against Unleash the Hounds.
Yeah.
Because he would have had 2 extra minions on board, none of which would have been taunts.
This is really smart too, because Viper, even with like perfect outcomes here, is going to have a pretty tough time.
Yeah, he needed what? Leok? Leok would have made 4 3-attack Hounds.
I mean, it still wouldn't really get the job done because one of the Hyenas is living no matter what in that situation. 7 and 5. What are you going to do?
Well, you kill the bigger one, and then you hope.
Yeah, hit the one in the middle.
Say, I hope you don't have any minions.
Yeah. By the way, half your health is gone. BunnyHoppor firmly in the lead. I'm trying to think of the perfect draws on Viper's side.
Rip Deadly Shot onto the Scavenging Hyena, and then Vicious Scale High Dire Frenzy on something. But I mean...
That's 2 draws.
Yeah. He barely even has 1 draw. That's 16 damage, 17, 18 damage. He's going to be at 4 health.
Yeah, get the hatchet developed, hack away. Just Viper having to use his coin the way that he did was such a big difference in this game. BunnyHoppor easily going to chew through this one and find himself in a tied-up series.
Launches Viper to space. Viper gonna sit here and think if anything from tracking could save him, but being at 4 health with the hatchet equipped, nothing to do, and we're all tied up.
Pretty darn spot on. I think that in the Miracle Rogue game that Viper had earlier, it was a random generated Mana Cyclone while he had Shadow Step in hand. That was about the only turn I think I've seen him fumble a bit, where I think he had a much stronger possibility than what the outcome was. But
And then he missed a dagger swing. Like, that's it.
yeah. And honestly, like, it was a pretty major turn that ended up happening, but how often do you generate Mana Cyclone from a lackey while a Shadow Step's in your hand, while you have a Frog, while you have a Wanted in your hand, so you can kill your own Frog to generate an extra coin, to get an extra mage spell while you have a questing adventurer in play? Like, that's just not something you're thinking about when you're generating random 2-drops. You're like, does this one buff my stuff? No? All right.
Very hard to nitpick these players, and honestly, just their results this year have been exceptional. Both players have been to multiple championships, the same championships, in fact. BunnyHoppor has been in 2 seasonal championship finals, one of which he won.
TJ, buckle in. These hands are some hot, hot heat.
And they're both quite different, to be honest. BunnyHoppor has the I'm gonna scare a bag.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh boy. Well, I think this is a traditional aspect since both hands are so good. I am going to say that this favors Viper because he has the attacker's initiative in this spot. This helps manipulate how BunnyHoppor is going to be able to make plays, which minions he's going to be able to play, and Viper gets to dictate the trades and land a Magic Carpet.
Yeah.
Almost out of time.
The fundamentals of Zoo are still the same that they've been for 4 years.
Now, Magic Carpet, I think, is the one card that's really breaking that rule, though.
It is, but at the same time, like, attacker's advantage has been the winning play in Zoo since the beginning. It's all about reducing the power on your board and making value trades until you're able to reach a critical mass and kill your opponent. That's been Zoo since forever.
Wow, this is an interesting spot here for Viper. When BunnyHoppor coins out a Scarab Egg, you're not really as worried about the aggressive pressure that he can apply. And so now the really big consideration is, how on earth do you get onto the board in a manner which means that your Magic Carpet is most effective? And I'm kind of curious about if he's considering trading into the egg, or if he's, you know, as crazy as this is going to sound, perhaps considering a life tap. Because right now, in my head, I don't necessarily want to use this Abusive Sergeant. I think it's a very valuable tool for trading. That's why he hung on to it in the early game. Viper just says, if I deny board presence from my opponent, what that means is my Magic Carpet sticks more often.
Oh, no.
And I agree with that to, you know, a pretty large effect as well. But at the same time, if Viper chooses to, you know, say life tap in that spot, as crazy as it's going to sound, if BunnyHoppor goes into the board, you still have Abusive Sergeant to make headway. Or if their board presence isn't enough, you get to play Magic Carpet. And then the Magic Carpet leads into the Abusive, it leads into the Argent Squire. That was a really weird turn that Viper had.
But let's say he Evil Geniuses and you have a 1-1, he has a 2-2 and 3 3-3s.
That's the situation he's thinking about.
Yeah, but then you develop 3 1-1s, and then BunnyHoppor gets to dictate the trades and can set up a board position, especially with a Grim Rally potential or even just Lackey potential, that kills your Magic Carpet. You never get to play it.
Exactly. That's why Viper chooses to go with this style of play, is he wants to fend off the best turns from BunnyHoppor.
Yeah.
And if you think about Coin Scarab Egg, well, what is that going to mean? It's going to mean stuff like Abusive Sergeant. It's going to mean stuff like maybe a minion in Grim Rally, although I doubt it. It could very well mean that Grim Rally's in hand, but not that he's using on turn 2. But Evil Genius is really the one that it often means. For BunnyHoppor, though, the second Scarab Egg here, that's the reason he coined it out. His variation was second Scarab Egg into Knife Juggler Grim Rally.
The problem with this line of play is Magic Carpet is just never getting killed.
BunnyHoppor doesn't really have an option, I don't think.
Well, he had the option of playing, like, say, Flame Imp and keeping the coin and trying to...
No, I disagree with that. Oh, you meant on turn 1?
On turn 1.
I think he had to go for this variation, or he was not going to have an opportunity in this game. Your opponent plays turn 1 Mecharoo. You're looking at Direwolf Alpha, Abusive Sergeant, or basically any addition of 1/1s to the board makes your Flame Imp almost useless in that scenario. You know, that's really the benefit of going first, is you're going first, and it means that your opponent's Flame Imps are a lot worse. This play's not shabby, though. Double 1. That's not good. That's pretty good. That's also pretty good. Viper's probably on 3 cards here, although I could definitely see life tap.
The 3-card plan seems good to me. You get to build the biggest board possible and trade off Soulfire this Knife Juggler to preserve your minions.
Something to really consider about this is that neither player has Sea Giant in the list. And so what that means is you don't need Soulfire to like hit a Sea Giant ever.
Yeah.
You can use it straight up for tempo on priority targets, as Viper did here. And so now he gets to pick up so many good trades. And the Magic Carpet is very healthy at this point. I think BunnyHoppor's in real trouble here. Magic Carpet's the one thing that really breaks all these rules about how board situations work out. You know, BunnyHoppor's play, I think, in an old style of Zoo matchup is great. I think when your opponent has Magic Carpet, though, you're going, geez.
Yeah, now the second Scarabag, while it will be able to break itself open, Knife Juggler's gone, so there's no possibility for that board swing. It presents a target that Viper doesn't want to trade into, so Abusive Sergeant gets higher value.
And Viper's in a really weird pickle here, where he chooses to use the Flame Imp to trade over, and the reason why is because he wants as many minion attacks on board as possible. If he trades over the Mecharoo and leaves the Joey bot behind, what ends up happening is BunnyHoppor gets to pick up that 1/1 and just continue to fight on board, and the number of attacks that BunnyHoppor can possibly get as a result of that is something Viper's clearly fearing.
Life tap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Oh, all right. So now something's cooking.
He's still going to need some very impactful lackeys because this Magic Carpet, no matter what happens here, will not die. Now, the benefit that BunnyHoppor has is that Viper's out of cards, but I mean, the deck is packed full of 1-drops. He doesn't have to worry, like you mentioned, about Sea Giant. So the fact that he can just play his minion with Reckless Abandon and not have to worry about that one big swing turn is a benefit. But unfortunately, Magic Carpet means that any 1-drop is just going to pick apart this board even further.
Yeah, I think that BunnyHoppor's in an okay spot here, though. He just has enough stuff in play that it's working out pretty well. You know, Viper's very likely to draw 2 1-cost cards here. It's, you know, there are 6 total cards in Viper's deck, 6 total unique cards, that is, that don't cost 1 mana.
Yeah, 11 total cards. Direwolf Alpha, Evil Genius, Knife Juggler, Scarabag, Magic Carpet, all tulips, and Arch Villain Rafam at the top end.
So Viper, you know, definitely in the aggressive initiative here. But BunnyHoppor's got some stuff coming up this turn. I'm a little bit afraid for Viper and how this could pan out. Yeah. I think it's very wise of him to trim into this board as much as he possibly can.
Yeah, and again, going with the notion of trading as much in as possible.
Oh, boy. So BunnyHoppor may have to risk... Oh, gosh, I don't know. I was going to say that BunnyHoppor maybe risks...
Is Magic Carpet the play there?
I don't think it is. I really do not. I was going to say maybe has to risk a Grim Rally this turn. Gets a Hench Clan Hogsteed, though. So now the Magic Carpet can be taken out from BunnyHoppor's side.
Well, it could have been taken out regardless, but now it gets taken out more cleanly.
Right, it gets taken out cleanly.
And he can kill over another minion to reduce the amount of attacks on board.
This is a
also
major
gets the buff
turn.
On the 2/3.
And look at BunnyHoppor's position, just his posture changing this.
And honestly, Archvillain Rafam here, who cares about making your deck legendaries? If you put a 7/8 taunt in the way, in a I'm playing 2 cards every turn because all I'm doing is life tapping value battle, a 7/8 taunt can win the game in the long run.
Another Magic Carpet picked up. No 1-drop to go with it. The Knife Juggler, I believe, vastly superior to the Magic Carpet here. And Viper, he's going to need to hope this goes right, I think.
So Magic Carpet with a few trades doesn't die on boards. That means Knife Juggler plus 2 potential 1-drops on the tap next turn.
Wow, I am very surprised by this Magic Carpet turn.
It's safe. Knife Juggler potentially clears off 1 extra minion. Magic
I think
Carpet.
that's a really big deal right now. I guess Viper does have a pretty substantial read that BunnyHoppor does not currently have Soulfire. So you risk it to Soulfire, oh my, but that risks the Magic Carpet or the Archvillain Reform then.
Both of which seem good right now.
I don't think he's going to risk this. I really don't. Viper didn't play a 1-drop with this. That usually means he can't have a 1-drop in hand. He's got plenty of draws for him. Second Knife Juggler. And a 1-drop.
Okay.
But
So-
he cannot kill BunnyHoppor's Magic Carpet here, though.
Can't kill the Magic Carpet, but can protect
I
his
take
own
that back.
Magic Carpet.
Perfect juggles. Cannot do it. Never mind. Excuse me.
No, it could have. Because he gets 1 juggler from the
You're
Knife
right,
Juggler,
you're
then
right,
2 jugglers from the Boardwalker. That would have been exactly 6, but they all would have had to gone on the Magic Carpet. Now 2 jugglers from this.
Wow, these jugglers are massive.
And now the Archvillain Reform that BunnyHoppor seemingly held onto the Soulfire to protect is a liability, honestly, because it gets rid of the Soulfire, which reduces the chance that he can deal with the board. And with double Knife Juggler Magic Carpet, a 1-drop picked up is essentially 3 extra damage because he gets 2 juggles plus the additional rush.
Yeah, this is troubling. Oh no. What I'm reforming here. I really am. I think if BunnyHoppor loses this reform, he loses his percentage because he is not getting this spot back.
Well, the other option is to Soulfire, hope the reform gets pitched, throw the other Soulfire into the Magic Carpet and the Boardwalker, and then call it a day.
Yeah, sounds like reform to me.
Flame
Oh my. Oh my. The Grim Rally actually may not even be that good in this spot. These juggles are so important. Gets both of them.
Wow! Archvillain Reform has not delivered the legendaries necessary for any player
Well, hang on.
to find victories in this game.
Hang on. Because we still got draws coming, TJ.
We got draws coming, but Azalina Soul Thief and Cragwall the Frog, they have no immediate impact on the board, especially if Viper empties his hand here. A 7-mana 3/3 is not getting you back in the game. A 6-mana 4/6 is not getting you back in the game.
I said it earlier. When luck shuts the door, you got to open up the window.
And the window here is BunnyHoppor's 17 legendary minions that are in his deck.
He's going to have to be a contortionist to fit through it is the problem.
That's a very large, bizarre, randomly generated window.
Upstairs.
And he's also at 11 health.
What is that?
What is that? Hexlord Malacrass. What? What?
Well, I mean, the best cards in BunnyHoppor's deck right now are the zoo cards, and that provides you some zoo cards right now.
Well, he doesn't have any more zoo cards left in his deck, but he did have zoo cards in his opening hand.
Exactly. And that's Hexlord Malacrass.
What were the zoo cards in his opening hand? He had Flame Imp, Scarabag, Knife Juggler, Grim Rally. Flame Imp, double Scarabag, Knife Juggler? No, there was no Knife Juggler. Knife Juggler was drawn off the top on turn 1.
Oh, my. I think that might be lethal damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tap for the... So
the problem is he has to Grim Rally one of the minions that's giving him extra damage.
So you play the Direwolf Alpha here. You get the juggles. There's 2 to the face. That's enough. That's enough.
More
Viper,
than enough.
2-1 lead over BunnyHoppor. That was just fire back and forth. The tempo abusive championship it would be as well.
That's insane.
Bunny at championships. Don't mess with him.
I mean, also Viper at championships.
Don't mess with him. Don't talk to...
Maybe not as high of a win rate,
Don't
but still.
talk to Viper or his BunnyHoppor ever again. Vice versa, perhaps. It's game number 4, and this is it. BunnyHoppor has to win 2 straight. Viper in the hunt for a world championship title. He's got to get it done with Hunter. 2 tries.
This matchup we've seen quite a few times over the course of the 4 days of play at the World Championship, and it seems like it hinges on like one key draw, and that draw feels like it's Unleash the Hounds. Now, we've seen players win with Hunter without it, but it's much more difficult. And that's a Leroy in the opening hand. The only thing that would make this worse would be an Archvillain Rafam in the opening hand, because that's his entire top end. If you add up all the cards in his deck, they're a little bit more than Leroy plus Archvillain Rafam, but not much more.
I'm going to ask you a question real quick, though. If you could be guaranteed Voidwalker, Direwolf Alpha, and one of the bottom 3 cards in your deck, the worst 3 cards in the matchup versus Hunter, you wouldn't take that?
No! I'd pitch it back and get one of my other 16 one-drops.
No. But then you lose the Voidwalker and the Direwolf Alpha.
I'll take anything else. I'll take Crystallizer. I'll take Flame Imp. I'll take Evil Genius. I'll take Scarebag. I'll take Night Juggler. I'll take anything.
Yeah, but you could get like Grim Rally's Solarium.
I could.
Yeah, I don't want to risk that. I want my Direwolf Alpha. Perhaps I'm wrong. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know about this. And the problem with Zoo that we've seen so often in this tournament is that once they fall behind on board, they don't come back.
Well, then don't fall behind on board.
Easier said than done, my friend.
Oh, yeah, true story. Curious.
How so?
I kind of like the abusive sergeants.
Okay. You would leave the Shimmerfly up.
Something in my head with the Leroy, I think, is tricking me. Where I'm like, if I have all this damage, I mean, I just have one place left to go. I think that's what's happening in my head, honestly. Because there are some punishes available on Viper's side. You know, one of the big ones is Headhunter's Hatchet. That's going to kill a lot more minions that way. But sort of my thinking on it is if I'm going to let them Headhunter's Hatchet, what I'm going to do is make enough minions that I deal enough damage that the Headhunter's Hatchet perhaps becomes a liability. I don't really know.
I feel like your brain is a computer program when it comes to Zoo. And removing Doomguard from the standard set.
I got to make that damage up somewhere.
Remove the piece of code from your brain and made you infinitely loop on face damage. I feel like that's how it is.
Leroy's the new Doomguard.
There's a bug stuck where the code is infinitely looping with just send everything to face at all costs.
Well, let's talk about this secret here for a second. This is a random secret.
Yeah.
I don't feel like BunnyHoppor is afforded the luxury of being afraid of this.
He is not. And I feel like we've said this so many times, it's becoming a cliche at this point. Play everything you got and ship it.
Okay, well, now I'm very concerned.
Ship it. Upstairs.
I feel like the abusive sergeants here represent a lot. I mean, I get BunnyHoppor's, he's going to be afraid of Unleash the Hounds and Timberwolf.
Almost out of time.
Good news.
Argent Squire to check for Snipe?
I'm curious if that's better than the Witchwood Imp. I don't actually. I think the Imp is better because it has stealth, so it can actually secure the abusive sergeant damage at some point.
Yeah. Also, Witchwood Imp, if it got sniped, would buff up one of these minions to make it stronger against potential Unleash the Hounds. Now, Viper doesn't have Unleash the Hounds, but he does have tracking.
Viper's getting awfully constricted on mana here, too. I mean,
yes.
The benefit that Viper has right now is he has Snake Trap down, so if Misha's rolled from Animal Companion, pretty darn good spot you're in. The problem with Animal Companion is, well, there's a 2-2 on board with Taunt, and so if you roll Huffer, that's miserable. Leok's getting threatened by about every imaginable angle possible, which is A, just BunnyHoppor overloading on board, and then B, a single abusive sergeant. You know, Viper is thinking about magic carpet turns right here. He's thinking about how Soulfire is going to interact.
Yeah, Leok does give you a lot of outs from tracking or Master's Call with either Spring Paw or Unleash the Hounds, because BunnyHoppor is not going to trade in that Leok. Coin is a big, big resource.
I don't mind Coin Mark Shot here.
Okay.
And the reason why is you're taking forward attack off board, and you're adding something to hand that perhaps could be enough to get done. And Revenge of the Wild, ooh, that is an interesting choice. The Master's Call is much more reasonable, but if you think about the position that Viper might fall into here, I'm thinking something desperate like an Unleash the Hounds Revenge of the Wild turn. It might be enough to actually get you out of a situation where you're just stuck.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have to think about crazy combos like that and throw caution to the wind. And
all right.
BunnyHoppor, I tell you what, if he would have jammed all this stuff down, he would be dealing heaps of damage.
Yes, but I agree with the keeps of the abusive sergeants, because yes, face damage is obviously going to be relevant, but I think these abusive sergeants are going to be necessary to push through more than just 4 face damage as the game progresses.
Well, right now it would have been more than 4 face damage. They would have also chipped away for the
6
additional
face damage. You're right.
Yes, and then they would have this turn as well, and then they would have the next turn as well. Those 2 abusive sergeants would have dealt like 10 damage.
Well, no, because then he wouldn't have played other stuff.
Well, he's life tapped twice.
Yeah, but he would have 2 less cards in hand, and maybe that makes him so he doesn't get there. I don't know.
It's possible. Again, there's also still the play around things. Like if BunnyHoppor's not vulnerable to Unleash the Hounds, why make yourself vulnerable to Unleash the Hounds is the thought.
Yeah.
I'm getting nervous for BunnyHoppor now.
Yeah.
Is this taking too long? He's doing a great job at building a resilient board, and the Evil Genius was the pickup that really rewarded this, I think. Grim Rally is also another one that rewards it as well for having that patience. So 2 of your big payoff cards are reasons to hang on to these minions.
Yep.
I'm just looking at that golden payoff card on the left that says, if opponent's at 6, you win the game.
Pretty much. A couple scenarios that don't allow that, but they're few and far between, especially when you're considering Hunter. Now, Viper here, again, mana is just the one constricting factor. And honestly, Master's Call plus tracking to try and find Unleashed was the play that I looked at first.
This is quite interesting. With the Snake Trap down, the Vicious Scalehide actually is a bit of a threat here.
This is smart.
I mean, that's just going to, like, return extra... that's a Grim Rally.
That's a Grim Rally.
Oh, boy. Viper's in trouble.
Now, the one thing here is that Viper, by playing Vicious Scalehide and Scavenging Hyena, does one of 2 things. One, he makes it really enticing for BunnyHoppor to kill this Vicious Scalehide. And by doing so would summon Snakes, which would make it really enticing for BunnyHoppor to kill the Scavenging Hyena. Because of the threat of Dire Frenzy on the Vicious Scalehide,
Get in there and fight, maggot!
you kind of want to kill it, but honestly, Evil Genius, Abusive Sergeant, Grim Rally, you don't care if your opponent's healing for 4 because you're dealing like 50.
Oh, my.
Nothing but power!
Oh, my.
Oh!
This is just ridiculous. BunnyHoppor's about to run away with this game.
Almost out of time.
What on earth are you going to do if you're sitting in Viper's seat right now?
This hurts me. Is that a trade?
I'm trading with the Scavenging Hyena for sure. I don't want that thing to get out of control. That one dies. Chew away at the rest of the board.
I think you tainted me.
Well,
You told me face damage, and I just wanted face damage.
The thing about it is if BunnyHoppor's gonna hold, this is the payoff. It's Grim Rally and the pressure it applies. Like, Viper has to have Unleash the Hounds in spots like this, and if he had Unleash the Hounds, he would not have risked the Scavenging Hyena this way. Bunny knows that.
Okay. That's the point I needed. But then what if Viper knows that Bunny knows that?
That's a tough leveling war to make. I mean, you'd have to have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge of how your opponent will react in that situation.
If there's any players in this entire tournament who have immense knowledge of how his opponent's going to play, it's these 2 people.
Here's the problem.
These guys have probably played 4 digits worth of Hearthstone games against each other.
It's a true story. The issue with... Ooh, that's a nice roll with the Leok. He gets to pick off some minions here. The issue with that is that one of the reasons these players are so successful is because you know how they will react. They'll smell blood in the water, and they'll go for a punish.
All right, well, this cuts 3 minions off the board, which makes the second Grim Rally that BunnyHoppor picked up much weaker.
There's some breathing room here for Viper now, but I think this is just too much. Like, you're getting another spell from the Lackey. You're getting the Abusive Sergeant easy trade up with the Witchwood Imp. That's going to buff your minions even further.
I mean, you can value trade over with the Evil Genius after the Grim Rally. Maybe you want to consolidate your board. Ugh.
Well, this is kind of weird.
Siphon Soul?
I'm taking Siphon Soul, but you know, I was thinking about the Twisting Nether. Like, is that ever a good emergency button? Siphon Soul is just a good push button.
I think Siphon Soul is honestly like almost a better emergency button, because what's your emergency button for? It's probably for Scavenging Hyena.
Maggot.
Like, if your opponent has a bunch of big stuff that you need to kill, then you're probably dead. Another big board, and BunnyHoppor's got reload behind it with Solarium. Got damage in hand with Leroy Jenkins.
5.
So
to
we
the
have
face.
we have 9 plus 4, 13 on board, plus Leroy Jenkins is 19.
Too. Viper would have had the Scalehide possibly in hand with 2 Master's Calls and 3 more 4/6 Lifesteal Rush in the deck. That was a possibility. I liked the Scalehide when he played it, because I think he needed every edge he could take.
I mean, honestly, outside of BunnyHoppor having Grim Rally, that board presents a very awkward situation. The Vicious Scalehide Scavenging Hyena. I loved that play. My brain went to something completely different that would have lost the game on the spot. His play went for something that forced BunnyHoppor to have to trade into both for threat of either of them growing and allowing Viper to stabilize. So it bought him way more time. Obviously, you'd love to just be able to play it on 6, Dire Frenzy it, heal a little bit.
We got an attitude about this idea.
Colada,
That's why they put it in the deck.
Yes, but against Zoo, that it doesn't happen that often.
Happens about when you draw Scalehide and the Dire Frenzy.
All right, so the out for Viper here is to just nail Unleash the Hounds off the top or from the Shimmerfly.
Draws for lethal here, and you better believe BunnyHoppor's casting Solarium this turn. A single Soulfire ends this game.
Yep. Doesn't have Abusive Sergeant. Wouldn't be able to play a Direwolf Alpha. There is a natural Grim Rally left in the deck, I believe, since one of them was from the Ethereal Lackey.
Kind of awkward pickups here.
Well, he can.
I mean, he's way ahead. He's no threat of this game getting out of control for BunnyHoppor.
Yeah,
there really is not.
You can Magic Carpet. You can Evil Genius. You can consolidate the board.
Viper's got to Unleash the Hounds Timberwolf. But he's not going to have much life left.
That's an amazing pickup from Shimmerfly, by the way.
Oh, hang on. That's a board clear. Unleash the Hounds Timberwolf.
Deadly Shot.
And Deadly Shot. So the question is, do you need to clear out the carpet, or do you need to make a Scavenging Hyena?
No, it's not a board clear, because the Witchwood Imp would buff the Magic Carpet.
Yeah, you Deadly Shot it afterwards.
Oh, you Deadly Shot it afterwards. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So my question is, does he instead need to go for the Scavenging Hyena turn? He could add a Lynx to that and trade it in. And honestly, if Viper's going to win this game, he's got Kill Command in hand. He's got Dire Frenzy in hand.
Or
I don't think he's going to win unless he counterattacks here. How do you make that happen?
With the Scavenging Hyena?
I think you have to counterattack. I think you have to move in on the Scavenging Hyena.
And just leave up the carpet?
And that's exactly where Bunny takes the Siphon Soul for. He's not going to do it, though. He's going to go for a clear.
Oh boy. And BunnyHoppor is 1 damage off from the Leroy Soulfire threatening lethal. The benefit that he has is Viper no longer has Vicious Scalehide, so the only card that gains him health is Zul'jin. And it's just 5. And he's still 3 turns off from Zul'jin. This is turn 8. It feels like this game's been going on for a while. Oh, jeez. Well, that's a backup plan.
Nothing but power.
Okay.
Whoa. Well, I have a feeling we're going in. I would say there's about a 0% chance he doesn't take Soulfire. Just about. I swear I thought that was Bluegill Warrior when I heard that that Murloc scream. BunnyHoppor threatening lethal here.
Needs 1 damage to stick.
Oh.
There's Zul'jin, but I don't know if he's going to have time for that. He's got a way to take...
He's got 2 attacks with the Spring Paw. He's got 1 more kill with the kill command. He's got an attack with the with the Timberwolf here.
He can isolate.
He can isolate the Scarabag.
It's a big expenditure, but at this point, Viper's chance of winning is coming down to get to turn 10.
Your opponent just discovered, and they've held on to 2 discovered spells. You are very worried about damage output. That card in BunnyHoppor's hand on the far left, it's been there the entire game. You have got to take drastic action to keep from dying.
I don't think there's a world
Look
where
at
Viper
that.
doesn't completely clear off this board.
The play that you have to make to 5 damage kill command the front half of a Mecharoo is something else. Grim Rally, 6 damage, 10 from the Soulfire, 1 more from the Grim Rally. That's lethal damage. Leroy gets played, it attacks for 6. Or this way, make an attack for 7. Even bigger noise. BunnyHoppor takes game 4 and is going to send this to a 5th and final game.
And how fitting for that to happen. These guys have played against each other in tournaments twice this year. The first time was at DreamHack Tours, where they went to game 5. I was waiting for it to come down to like a 33% chance to discard the second Soulfire to win the game. That's what I thought that game was going to come down to. But forget about that, because it all comes down to this one game of Hearthstone. Who is going to move on to the finals? And this one can be pretty tough. Now, Mage had a fantastic start to the tournament. I think we came into today with like 11-3 game score for Mage, and then we've seen it struggle. We've seen it get outvalued in the past couple of quarterfinals. And but this is one where BunnyHoppor actually lost this very matchup in game 1, where Viper queued up Mage, BunnyHoppor queued up Hunter, and Viper won. And maybe that's why Viper had his head in his hands, because Mage, I think, is the overall strongest deck in both of these players' lineups.
I definitely come close to agreeing with that. I think the Rogue is stronger, but
Okay,
it's been banned away.
Yeah, it's been banned away.
Sure. So the thing to really account for is just how powerful the cards really are in the matchup. And honestly, I have to say I'm a bit surprised by BunnyHoppor's mulligan in this spot. You know, I don't know how to mulligan with this deck because it is very complicated. Like, I probably played 30 or 40 games with this deck in the time I had before I had to cast this thing. And every single game, I'm like, I want all of these cards, but I don't.
Well,
I feel like there's so many cards I need every game.
And that's you, in a nutshell, on ladder. So imagine for a second that you're playing against a world-class opponent who you happen to practice with, who knows your strategies, who you practice mulligans with for hours and hours and hours leading up to the tournament. What do you keep then?
Rabble Masters. That card's insane.
just Rabble Bouncers? That's all you're keeping?
Well, he had 2 of them and he pitched them away.
Okay.
I'm very surprised by that.
I mean, I operate under a very simple method. I keep Conjurer's Calling, Book of Specters, and Mountain Giant. Everything else is being pitched.
Look, that makes total sense to me. When you tell me that, I'm like, that sounds great.
I dumb it down. I hard mulligan for the nuts every game. Now, obviously, it's a little more complicated here because if you don't get it and your hand's much weaker because of it, you could lose the Game 5 of a World Championship semifinals. Me, it's just a couple legend points.
The things that I'm looking at are the forgiving pickups that BunnyHoppor gets when he mulligans those away, because he did keep the Fire True Witch Doctor. So the forgiving cards are going to be the Dragon pickups, Mind Control Tech Service, Arcane Keysmith, which they talked at length about being such an important card in many matchups. And then there's the big payoff, big bad Mamma Jamma card. It's Book of Specters.
Yes.
That is the bread and butter of the deck.
And this feels like an autoplay. The reason being why he's not going to think about it too long, there would be the nod to, if I play Book of Specters and I don't have an answer to Scavenging Hyena, I might be in trouble. But he has the Voodoo Doll to answer anything.
Exactly.
So it can feel free to have a dead turn knowing.
That was another thing I talked with Viper and BunnyHoppor about too, was how important Voodoo Doll was in a number of matchups. They said, honestly, it's kind of bad removal, but sometimes your decks need removal in general. And Mage is certainly one of the decks that needs it. This isn't a deck that has the liberty of playing with Frostbolt and Fireball because you have Book of Specters. So what's the natural fit? It's Voodoo Doll. Voodoo Doll is just a totally fine play in many situations. This is probably one of them. The threat of Voodoo Doll, too, because of Conjurer's Calling, is so massive. This isn't a card that you want to let live because you're afraid it's going to get Conjurer's Calling.
On the flip side, if there's a hand that I think can beat up on Mage, even with a decent draw, it's this one. He has a Timberwolf on board that's honestly quite safe. He has Scavenging Hyena plus double Spring Paw. If he lands the Scavenging Hyena this turn, BunnyHoppor plays a Mountain Giant, which means Timberwolf lives, which means quad Spring Paw kills the Mountain Giant and pushes, what, 11?
Quickly.
It's a lot.
It would be 13 because the Misha's going to die. It would be 14 because the Timberwolf attacks.
Viper's going for the extra damage push here, too. He says, I'll trade this Spring Paw now. 5 ya.
And this is essentially the same, possibly more, just because of the fact that Shimmerfly gets to trade in next turn as well. He has the...
Yeah, I love this play.
This is great.
This was fantastic. Scavenging Hyena, you see why it's in the deck. And honestly, Mountain Giant, that might be fuel for the fire at this point. I think BunnyHoppor's best course of action is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of Hero Power the Scavenging Hyena and try to rely on Ziliax.
What to do?
If BunnyHoppor pings the Scavenging Hyena, though, Viper's going to know what's up.
And then the ultimate punish is Dire Frenzy. Are you going to risk?
Well, Dire Frenzy's ultimate punish, but I'm looking at Viper's hand in particular. I'm curious, you know, akin to the last game where Viper kill commanded his own, or the 1-1, you could protect your Scavenging Hyena from a Ziliax.
Yeah, and honestly, Mountain Giant, even with just the information that BunnyHoppor knows, also gets punished by Dire Frenzy. Both those plays punish him very heavily. One of those gives him a chance of killing the Scavenging Hyena next turn with Ziliax.
I don't know what to do here.
I don't. If he just pings the Scavenging Hyena, honestly,
BunnyHoppor's in real trouble. He's going to lose.
I mean, how much damage is this turn? He trades in 4 minions, so the Scavenging Hyena goes up 8 attacks, so it goes up to 15.
Master's Call drawn as well.
Well, he kill commands face right now. He sets him to 2, doesn't he?
Well, you kill the Mountain Giant, you just Hero Power.
Hero Power, because he has to play the last links, that's right.
BunnyHoppor's dead.
He's very dead.
You ain't winning through that. That's a 15 attack. Scavenging Hyena, 15, TJ, 15.
Even if he draws Voodoo Doll here and kills the Scavenging Hyena, Kill Command plus Hero Power kills in the next turn.
That's it. And look at Viper's face. He has his hand over his mouth. He can't believe it.
There is no way out. The only way out is for BunnyHoppor to play Zeliax or Rabble Bouncer and just hope that Viper has nothing.
He's going to hope he's got nothing. But you can tell BunnyHoppor knows he's got something. And Viper's got Kill Command, Viper's got Deadly Shot, Viper's got Game 5, and a spot in the finals at the World Championship.
A very quick end to